What's up, everyone? I just had a great conversation with Phil O'Brien. He is the owner of the O'Brien Insurance Agency in Port Jeff Station, New York. He is also a co-owner. The other co-owner is his brother, Patrick. He's a co-owner of Anchor East Apparel. It's an apparel company. They sell everything from hats, shirts, women, men clothing. And he's also the one that designed my logo that you see behind me. And I'm wearing one of his hats that they sell currently, and I love it. It fits well. And it's now my podcast hat. And so we talk about challenges he's faced, things that he's learned, and the good things he's doing for the community, like giving back to the beaches. He does beach cleanups with their Anchor East Apparel company, and they donate to juvenile diabetes. So this was a great conversation. I hope you enjoy it. If you do enjoy it, please subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can stay up to date on other conversations that I have on my channel with interesting people. And I hope you enjoy. What's going on, dude?
Crazy, man. Crazy.
How's the family?
They're good, man. Good. Kids are both in Boyle. So my son's in 3rd grade now. My daughter just started pre-K. So they're both at Boyle, which is kind of cool. And yeah, man, just working. Busy is, an understatement. How about you? How's the little one?
Good. It's interesting having a brand new baby and coming home with a brand new baby. I tried to read all the baby books, but you learn as you go. Like, there's so much things that I've learned as I went, and it's a weird thing, man, having a baby that is basically half of you and half of like your wife or your spouse.
Right.
It's a crazy experience, but it's going well. She's sleeping fine. And it's awesome. I don't know. I love being a dad. So for me, I enjoy it.
Yeah, it truly is like the greatest accomplishment of, I think, any person's life, being a parent, in any sense of that word, and just like what my favorite thing now is, like, my kids are at the age now where you see they're actually not only have their own personalities, but you see how similar they are to you or your spouse, and like some stuff is just so.
Your son looks just like you. I was just looking at
you're one of the only people that's ever said that.
Really? Because in your profile picture, your son looks like you, and I think your daughter looks like Val.
Yeah, we get they both.
You get the opposite?
Not necessarily the opposite, but more like, they both look like Val.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting, because I just see a mini you in your son.
Yeah. Yeah, you're one of the few people that's ever said that. So thank you.
How's work? Dude, you're running 2 companies, 40-hour, 24 hours in a day. How the hell are you doing that right now?
Well, I'd say my main job is being a parent and a husband.
So 3 jobs, 2 companies and a family.
Yeah. How am I doing that? Well, I tend to be a night owl. So during the day, obviously my main focus, while my kids are at school and my wife is at work, is I give my insurance agency my attention. And I'm the type that doesn't like to just settle with one thing. Like I've always been like a creative person, whether it be writing,
my
anything.
Logo.
Yeah. So like writing, with music, even when I was doing stuff with music, I would always like to mess around on my laptop and make my own beats and use different instruments and stuff like that. So I've always loved getting that, that creative outlet out there. So, there are times where I've had a full day at work, and it's not the easiest industry to be in. You're always the point of contact to whether things go good or bad. A good day could be you helped a parent potentially save enough money to help their kids out. A bad day could be you have to make that phone call to a life insurance carrier and say I have to file a claim because so and so just passed. It's not the easiest industry to be in. So
No.
when I do have those tough days after I leave here, and I'm daddy, husband.
Here is the insurance agency.
Yeah, so at the insurance agency. So after I leave the insurance agency, I'll go home and spend time with my family. We'll go on the boat. We'll go outside, do things like that. But when everything shuts off at night, that's kind of like when I like to express things. I feel like it kind of helps keep me stable and focused and stuff like that. And I'm a goal-oriented person, so I've always been that way, and I've always wanted to creatively express myself. And I found that I was doing the insurance agency, and I'm super fortunate for it because it set me up to be able to venture off and do other things. So creatively, I got that outlet by finding Anchor East, because I started off doing all the designing and the ads and logos and stuff like that for my agency.
All creatively, but probably a business acumen. You've probably learned a ton from running your own business, I would assume. And so having the outlet to the creative stuff, I think you've always had that. You've done music. You've always had that interest. Yeah. Learning a business is another whole beast, though. And so I would assume, I don't know, there's so many damn things, man, you learn in a business. Like, one is just, it's tough to run a business, especially if you don't have credibility. And I think it toughens you up a little bit. You work at these large corporations and you take for granted that they get consistent sales all the time. For me, I don't have to really worry about that. You run your own business like I'm doing here, a book, podcast. You want people to listen to you and buy your product. You need to sell your ass off. Yeah. And so that's one aspect. The other aspect is just learning how to manage a P&L sheet, manage people. You probably do in other areas, but so I would assume that you've been working at the insurance agency for what, over 10 years at least, and you've been mentored years. For longer than that with your father, I would assume.
Yeah, so we had kind of an unusual, I guess, approach to how everything turned out with the insurance industry. So my grandfather was an insurance agent, which allowed for my father to join the industry. And after my father had joined the industry, my grandfather had not only a best friend, but a colleague of his that was also in the insurance industry that helped my dad a lot. Taught him some things. And my grandfather was always a teacher, still is to this day. And my dad had ran the business successfully for over 30 years. He retired at 35 years in the industry. And even now, he still has his fingerprints on things. He's still involved in an aspect. We can always call him for help and stuff like that. Or there's still
He's still an owner? He's still an owner?
He's not. No. Oh, okay. But we'll still have to call him because, there are things that had happened when he was here that maybe he would have a better idea on how to handle, things like that. And in 2017, he was looking to retire. So the son-in-law and daughter of the man who helped mentor my father, they have a very successful agency in Washingtonville. It's called the Quick Insurance Agency. Our families have been intertwined for 30-something, 40 years, something like that. So, this man's kids grew up with my dad and his siblings. They've just always connected, and they're all insurance agents. I have aunts and uncles in Florida that are insurance agents. It's just always been our thing. So
I didn't know it was that deep of a web.
Yeah. So in 2016, I was approached by Nationwide to be the successor of my father's nationwide agency. When my father was, a couple of years back, when my father was an agent, he decided he was going to open up a brokerage. This way, if somebody was ineligible for Nationwide, he can place them with somebody else and still keep the business. Because there's a lot of times where people will be with us just to be with us because of our service, not necessarily pricing. Yeah. So there were times where we would lose policies with Nationwide, but my dad was able to replace them with his other insurance company, which was the brokerage, which was non-Nationwide.
So you're a franchise with Nationwide, I would assume.
In a way, yeah. So in 2016, I got approached to be the successor of my father's nationwide book, with my sister being the successor of the non-nationwide book. I went through rounds of interviews, a lot of tests, a lot of trainings, things like that. And in 2017, I'll never forget, it was I had to go to upstate for my final interview. I did everything that they asked me to do, went for my final interview. I left everything on the table. I didn't hold anything back. I literally poured it all out there and never felt more confident before in my life. A couple of weeks later, my dad and I are kind of waiting to see if I'm going to be granted permission to buy his nationwide book through Nationwide. And I actually signed a contract to go into contract in my first home before I even knew what the hell I was going to be doing with my life. So I gambled big time with that, because
it's a nerve-wracking
my dad retiring in 4 months, 3 months, whatever it was. I just signed a contract on a house, and I didn't even know if I was going to have a job, because I always said, like, if it wasn't Nationwide, there was just something about having a brand behind me, and I just felt like if it's not Nationwide, then I don't know. I don't know if insurance is going to be the thing that, like, I'll do. I wanted to run my own business, and I wanted to do things a certain way. And so I definitely took a risk by going ahead and signing a contract on a home that I didn't know if I was going to have a job or not. And I had my wife and son at home at the time, and my wife was expecting our second child. So after that, a couple of weeks later, I got the phone call that Nationwide said no. They basically said, we're not going to be able to appoint you as a primary agent because we're not appointing new agents. We want big agencies to buy everybody out. In maybe late April-ish of 2017, my dad was in Florida visiting family, and he saw the son-in-law of the guy that helped mentor him and whatnot. And he gave him an opportunity for me to work with them. So his name's Charles Quick. So what he did was he basically bought my dad's Nationwide business from him, and I bought it from Charles Quick. That was the only way Nationwide was going to approve it, is if they basically had him backing it, because he's a big agent. So what we did was we combined our books, and we made a bigger agency, which allowed us to have more opportunity. So I own this insurance agency, like basically this branch, whereas he owns the Quick Insurance that, has the other branches. So in a sense, we're partners, but just for this location, but we're a big team. We have 4 agencies. We talk often, every day we're on meets and phone calls with everybody, because we're all still a part of a team. But the Port Jefferson one it's my baby now, and I work hard at keeping it where it was. And the first year was really hard because I didn't know how to run a business, and now I look back and I don't wonder why Nationwide didn't appoint me, because here I was, never ran a business. I was super green. I had nothing to show that I was going to be able to, hold my end of the deal when they wanted me to promise a certain amount of premium. And I took it over June 1st of 2017. We bought our house June 30th of 2017, and my daughter was born July 11th of 2017. So here I was, a month and a half in of running a business, and I had all these new things, and I had no idea how to run a business. I didn't know anything about taxes and all that stuff. I didn't have anybody working for me at the time. But like you said, you like being a parent, you kind of learn as you go. So I didn't, I didn't get any degrees or anything like that from business school. I learned everything about selling just from hearing my dad talk, just from being in meetings with him, and picking up bits and pieces, being a part of the industry. And because of that, fast forward a couple years later, Anchor East was born. Once I knew how to do everything.
Yeah, there's so much to unpack there. That so what I try to do on this podcast is share like someone's experience like yours and what they've learned from it. And so these questions are going to be maybe a little geared towards that because
Okay.
I want to talk about Anchor East. But before that, I feel like there's a couple things. One is starting your own business from complete fresh. What was like the biggest, what was the biggest challenge for you coming into this? Like, I understand someone who came from a business school and has business degrees has a perception of they wouldn't know what they're doing. I tend to disagree with that. I don't think you learn nearly enough in business school to be able to come and run your own business. Not even close. If I graduated with a business degree, there's no chance you put me in a running my own business that I know what I'm doing. I sort of would I sort of would think out on this. I'm on the same playing field as you, and whether that's a knock to business schools or not, I don't know. But I just don't. That's not my experience. So I could, like, what were the things that like? I'm sure it's even just like simple things like taxes, like even that. But like, what were like the biggest challenges for you? Like the first like your first year running your own business.
The most challenging thing the first year of running my business was the fact that I had to balance everything on my own. You know, my dad wasn't here. My partner was extremely helpful, but only as much as they can be. You know, they're all the way up in Washingtonville.
So you're doing
I,
the sales, you're doing the fucking the accounting, you're doing. Yeah, I haven't never figured out whether this is going to be a strictly no cursing podcast.
do
I
you
try
want
to
to, do
limit.
you want to redo that? You can cut that part out.
No, no, it's fine. I don't like to I
So
don't like to edit it.
that's the most challenging part was, yeah, was I was on my own. I had to do the sales. You know, I promised a certain amount of premium a year, so I had to keep up with that bargain. I had to figure out how to retain all this business. You know, we have over 1,000 clients, and there was just me. You know, when my dad was here, we had 4 or 5 employees sometimes. I never had the opportunity to take everything on my own. So I was in service and producing with my dad, but now it was all on me. Not only did I have to do the servicing, someone calls, they want to add a car. That to me, it's like, okay, I got to get this done and then I got to do this. I just never turned my brain off. It was the hardest part about it was servicing, trying to keep up with sales, learning how to do my taxes, QuickBooks, looking for an employee. Everything about it was hard.
Who was your first hire? Like what department?
Customer service.
Yeah, because that was just probably draining you.
Yeah, I was exhausted, you know, because on top of all of this, everything that was going on with learning a business and this and that, I was also a brand new homeowner. It's our first house. I was brand new to being a father of two. So life happened outside of the business. And I had a really hard time balancing them. I felt like so much of my priorities was my business to keep us afloat and to, you know, feed my family and keep a roof over our head, like what everybody says. But it's the truth. That was the hardest part, was finding balance and turning it off. You know, I got to the point where I would leave work sometimes 6 o'clock at night, let's say, and I'd go home and hang out, you know, play with the kids, whatever. But then at night, I'd open up that laptop to see if any new emails came in that I'm going to have to deal with and try to do stuff at night. This way I can be a little more free during the day to help out the stuff that would come up that day. So
Yeah.
I would say when opening the business, yeah, finding that balance was without a doubt the hardest thing that professionally I'd ever done in my life.
And so you did this. Now you have an outlet for your creative side. What I know you've always had a creative mind with music and that stuff, but what's the first ad? Like, because a lot of this is now you're building logos for your new company, Anchor East. Got the beautiful hat on, and
Looks
you built
good.
my logo. I think it's not behind me anymore. But like, what? Yeah, I don't know, because you could hire probably a creative outsourcer, but then you're like, no, this is what I like to do. I'm curious, like, what was that first ad you made? Like,
So I got the opportunity to learn how to sell through Facebook, and I took an insurance course called the CAC, and it's through Insurance Soup. It basically tells you how to sell through social media, and I started seeing how like how unique it was, because I wasn't seeing any other insurance agents in our area doing it. Just putting up a couple posts that aren't salesy but more informative and helpful. And so I actually started a Facebook page for the insurance agency, which everybody does when they open up a business. That's one of the first things they do. So I was like, so I'm going to do this. But instead of the approach that I took was, instead of, call me for a quote, or that's what I started doing. And I noticed that it never worked, because that's what everybody does.
Yeah.
Hey, we have big savings, or look at these deals, or they try to find, like swim into savings this summer. There's always that stuff like that. So I try to take a different approach to it. And I came to the realization that I was like, all right, instead of being salesy, I'm going to be informative. And I'm going to do that by using these graphics. So I made my own logo the first week I opened up my business. I had this cheap program on my phone. It was just like an app. Just, found this stuff. I was like, oh, that looks cool. Looking back on it now, oh my God. It's special now. I wouldn't, oh man. So I started doing that, and then I started making these informative posts. And what people don't know, I had a pretty decent following on Facebook, and I was selling a good amount of homeowner policies right off of Facebook, just from just reaching people. There was a 4-month span where I was averaging almost 3 homeowner policies a week just off of Facebook. And people would call saying, hey, I saw your ad on Facebook. And to me, I'm like, that's not an ad. You're getting free information. I'm not charging you for looking at this. I would explain certain coverages, but I would do it in a fun way. I would do it where.
And that's not Facebook ads, right? Are those just organic postings?
No, these are me designing something and uploading a picture. So I made a couple of different logos for myself, and I always wanted to get into marketing and designing and stuff like that. I always loved it. I used to do it for when my dad was an insurance agent. I used to do all the ads in the newspaper at the time, Penny Saver, stuff like that. So, then I would take bits and pieces and put it on like a PDF, print it, copy it, tape something to it, make a photocopy. It was a big process then. And then
the old Photoshop days.
yeah. So after I did everything with the insurance agency and started seeing like people were reacting to it, it started working. And
That's awesome.
Ultimately we had multiple branches that had Facebook, so we combined them into one big Facebook page, which I started doing the ads for them now too, the graphics and stuff like that. And so it was maybe. I would say probably like March-ish of 2020, well, COVID, when COVID really hit. I had started messing around with a design. And I talked to my wife, and I said to her, I have an idea, like I wanted to make a t-shirt company. I was like, I just wanted to make a couple of cool logos and just sell them. We have a boat, and I was like, we can go to Pirates Cove every Saturday and sell some shirts. Just wanted like a brand, something that everybody is kind of involved in. And she loved it. She thought it was a cool idea. And during this time, my brother, who's my partner and co-owner of Anchor East, he had gotten laid off of his job, or, released, whatever it may be. So we were having a conversation one night, and he was so intrigued by what I was saying. When it was probably like 11 o'clock at night, and I text my brother, and he texts me like nonstop throughout the day. If it's not football, we're talking about something. Now most of it's about Anchor East and funny stuff, but we have that kind of a relationship. And so, we were talking, and I said, I'm kind of considering doing like a little side business where I just make 3-4 looking like t-shirts, couple of logos, whatever, just men's t-shirts was the original idea. And there was no name. I just knew that I wanted to incorporate an anchor because it signifies a lot to me personally. And
why? Why? Just because you're like your love of like having a boat and going to Fire Island every weekend?
So I don't go out to Fire Island on my boat.
You don't.
No,
Okay.
I'm a North Shore boater, but
Okay.
no, it's not even about the boating lifestyle that my family and I live. To me, an anchor can resemble so many different things. So I've always, even my insurance agency, the logo is an anchor. I have an anchor tattoo on my elbow. You know,
Oh.
it signifies a lot to me. When you think about what an anchor really does, it's pretty incredible. It literally holds everything together. It holds things steady. It keeps you in one spot, you know? It keeps you grounded. More metaphors would be, you know, so and so is the anchor of the family, things like
Yeah.
that. So a lot of it, just, you know, there's like a big meaning behind a lot of the stuff that has to do with an anchor, and a lot of it has to do with my family. You know, I always felt my wife was the anchor of our family, you know, and so it just signifies a lot to me. And so I'm talking to my brother one night, and he seemed so intrigued about it. And he's someone who had just been told that they're no longer needed at their job that they'd worked at for over a decade. And he was a pretty big name where he was. Here he is, you know, not knowing what to do. He was going into a new apartment that he had gotten. And he also he had his son. So he had a family that he had to take care of as well. So I was like, hey, you want to do this together? You know, maybe like this could be like our thing. You know, we'd always looked for ways to work in the past, whether it be he work at the insurance agency in some capacity. We just always wanted to work together. And I thought
Yeah.
that this was a pretty cool opportunity. And I said, you know, I was thinking of doing a couple of men's t-shirts. Is this something that maybe you'd want to be a part of? And I think I saw those three dots on the iPhone for about a half a second, and he immediately said yes. He said, absolutely. But he said, under one condition, we have to donate to juvenile diabetes. And the reason being is my brother grew up as type 1, and it's something he lives with and lived with his entire life. So that was very important to him. And knowing that this was a passion project and like a side business, it immediately became important to me. Not that it wasn't, but it
Yeah.
always, you know, it really brought to light how important it was for him also. So I thought that that was pretty incredible that, you know, that was his conditions, is that had to
Yeah.
be in there. So from there, I showed him like an idea that I had for an anchor, and occasionally we'll send it to each other now, being like, you know, look where it all began, or look at this. Like, can you imagine putting this on a t-shirt now? It is the ugliest looking anchor with, oh, it's brutal. So we were going back and forth with names too. And I knew that I wanted to incorporate Anchor in the name of the clothing line. So we were going back and forth. We had a couple of them, and then we just came to Anchor East. And I was like, we live on the East Coast. That actually sounds pretty cool. And he was like, boom, that's it, Anchor East. And
Yeah.
from there, it was like ideas were flowing and flowing, and every single day, you know, we're in our homes now. We're not allowed to go out. So I'm doing the insurance thing, and you know, I things were pretty slow at that time because everybody was home, and you know, it's a lot of our busyness comes from whether it be a contractor on a job or things like that, people buying cars. None of that was happening then. So we had a lot of downtime, and I was just nonstop every single night on my phone, on my laptop, just looking for new ways to create new logos and stuff like that. And it started at one place and it took off to a completely different place.
Now you have a whole clothing
It
line.
looked.
Hats, shirts.
Yeah, so this credit to my brother, I only wanted to do t-shirts, and he said, why limit ourselves to just men's t-shirts? You know, like we're potentially losing out on a whole, I guess, fan base of what it could be. You know, we could do hats, t-shirts, women's clothing, everything.
Yeah.
I never even thought of doing women's clothing because I don't know anything about women's clothing. So then comes our wives, who have helped us so much with the women's clothing, you know, and that's what's so cool about Anchor East, is that it's a family thing. You know, my brother, myself, and both of our wives, we all have ideas, you know. My wife has made one of the logos that ended up being one of our biggest sellers that we had. And my brother's wife made a logo that everybody loved. Everybody was buying it. So of course, here me and my brother have this awesome company, and our wives end up getting the most sales from it, from their logos.
Yeah, that's how it usually works.
Yeah, but yeah, and then with Anchor East came like so many opportunities too. We had gotten we started a Facebook and a Instagram. And so I grew up a really, really big wrestling fan. And if you remember, or if you were ever a fan, anytime they would like tease like a new guy coming or someone coming back, they would always have these like mysterious videos and stuff like that, or these little promos. Sometimes they have like a little music behind it, or like little hints and stuff like that. So we kind of mimicked that using our clothing line. So we put up like a bunch of logos and a video with some music behind it, and just kind of let it out there, and just to see what people would say. And this was probably in like June or something like that, after we like, all right, we have our name, we have our logos, this is what we'll do. And to our surprise, so many people commented and reached out to us. People thought we were opening up a bar. It was like, that's probably not the time to open up a bar. We're in, COVID.
Yeah.
So it got like a lot of attention, and it was really exciting. And then in July of 2020, we took our boat out to the beach, and my daughter cut her foot on a piece of glass at Pirates Cove, and she cut it really badly. And fortunately, she didn't need like any medical treatment or anything like that. But it really pissed me off to see some person just left a broken beer bottle. It looked like as if he had just basically thrown it off the boat or whatever. But it just really bothered me. And about 10 minutes after we calmed her down and taped up her foot, I texted my brother and I said, you know how we're going to work with juvenile diabetes? We're going to clean up the beaches too. And he loved it. And that's been like such a big focus of ours. So my brother was the mastermind behind finding the vendors, doing all the permits that we need to do beach cleanups, to the diabetes walk, all this stuff that we had done. My brother really had done he designed our website. We didn't hire anybody to do anything. We learned it as we went. So I think we have a great way of doing everything. I do a majority of the creating and the designing, and he does the website, the orders. He does a lot of the other stuff that, it's a good fair share. We both do a little bit of both, but it's like a perfectly even partnership. It's awesome.
Yeah, that is. I was gonna lead into a lot of these questions, and you led into them already perfectly. The beach cleanup thing. So, how many beaches have you guys cleaned up so far?
So far, we've cleaned up 3 beaches. Originally, we were going to do one annually. And after the feedback we got from the first one, and just that feeling of doing something right and giving back to the community, it felt so good. And seeing how many people were involved and seeing how many people asked when the next one is, we're like, we can't just do one. We did one in May. That's like opening season for the beach. We should do 3, like before, middle, and after. So we did
That's
3.
awesome.
We did Smith Point. We cleaned that one. That one was good. I wouldn't say great. It was heartbreaking to see how much garbage we picked up literally within an hour.
I was gonna say, dude, you guys should weight how much garbage you pick up from these beaches. And like at the end of the year, it's like we've eliminated 500 pounds of crap.
Yeah, it would be like awesome to do that, but I mean, dude, we found everything from like fishing line, that's pretty common in bottles and cans, stuff like that. But like, we found a perfectly functioning Lifetime table buried in sand. We found blankets, pillows. We found it's unreal how much stuff, needles, unfortunately, and thank God we found them and some little kid didn't.
Yeah.
But that's really important to us as to why we do what we do, is to not only keep the beaches clean, but keep them safe too. You don't want your kid crawling in the sand and he's touching cigarette butts or a needle. That's not why you're at the beach. You shouldn't have to be stressed about what you could find at a beach. and it's
Needles,
important
that's
for us.
disgusting. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, you never know how much is there until you start looking for it. And I'll be the first one to admit it. I had no idea how disgusting some of these beaches were last summer as I do now this summer.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
Well, I saw some pictures on Facebook of this. Seems like you guys get a good turnout of people who help you guys. Like you had a booth up there, at least 20 people I saw.
Yeah,
I,
the first one at Smith Point, that was a tough one. That was really tough because it was our first one we did. So again, learning as you go.
yeah, of course.
And not a lot of people showed up. It was a bad day to do it. It was like the hottest day of the year so far. The beach wasn't open yet, so like there was no like authority there. There was no lifeguards. There was no parking meters. None of that. So the beach was so crowded, and we set up a nice little booth and everything. And what was cool about that one is so many people did come up to us and ask, like if they could take a garbage bag, stuff like that, and asked about us and learned about us. So that was pretty cool to see. The second one was amazing because now people had heard about us, people had seen on social media what we did with Smith Point, and now there was like a general interest, and it was more local. Smith Point is kind of a hike from our local communities, which would be Port Jeff Station, Mount Sinai, things like that. So West Meadow, like there is a point at that beach cleanup where I removed myself from our area and just looked at how many people were involved in this. And I got really emotional about that because just to think like this all started with, hey, I'm just going to make a few t-shirts, to now me and my brother are running this company that so many people are like interested in and now customers of. And it was like a beautiful thing to see how many people in our community came together to clean the beach. And then we were allowed to start selling merchandise at these beach cleanups too. The third one we did was Cedar Beach. Same thing. We had a really big turnout there and a lot of garbage. You know, at each cleanup we've done, we've taken over 20 full bags of garbage just from people walking up and down.
Yeah, that's interesting. It takes it takes some people a while to get a following like that. So it was your second time doing. I get your first time would be tough. Your second time, it's incredible that you had like that many people show up because that's not easy to do. And I guess that speaks to your ability to do your savvy social media and you get a following like you did with your other company. That's awesome.
Yeah, my brother, he worked his ass off on our Instagram
Yeah.
and found ways to get a lot of followers and stuff like that. People people liked what we wanted to do was make people who purchase Anchor East to be like a part of it. That's why we have this slogan that says "We are Anchor East." That doesn't mean like me and Pat are. That means we as a community, as people who are ordering stuff like that. Because what we like to do is anytime somebody orders something, we like them to send a picture of them wearing it because we like to post it. People like seeing other people wearing the stuff they're looking at, you know, and we just thought it's like a cool thing to do to get the community involved. Um, it's been awesome. It really has. And just seeing the feedback we've been getting. And then when we got onto News 12, that kind of changed a lot for us. You know, things have been insane ever since then. That really got our name out to places that we didn't expect to be in. We started getting orders in California, Alabama. I mean, everywhere.
Really? Huh.
Yeah. I mean, like the first day we launched was March 17th, 2021. And that was intentional, being that we're so Irish. So we had the idea to launch on St. Patty's Day, and we had a goal to, you know, have this many sales, and we did that within the first like 40 minutes, and it was unbelievable. We never thought in our wildest dream it would get the feedback that it got. So it's just been crazy, you know. It's been like a good crazy though. It's fun, you know. We had a couple of rounds of media with local newspapers when we were about to open. You know, they just wanted to know what we were about, so we got issued in the paper then. We had the media show up at the beach cleanup at West Meadow Beach. They went and they interviewed us there, and they took a lot of awesome pictures. And then the News 12 one was the big one. That got us to, because a lot of people didn't on the South Shore weren't really aware of us yet. So I think that kind of got us outside of our communities and covered more of Long Island and other parts of New York. So that was pretty awesome. That was like such an
Yeah.
experience to be on there.
If it keeps picking up, you're gonna have to hire some people, my man. Can't be running 2 businesses all by yourself. But, well, you got Pat.
Yeah, thank God I do. Thank God I do.
Well, I feel like since you're busy, you probably have something. So I'll start to end it off here. But curious, what is the next design you guys are coming? Any teasers you got to share with us?
So we got our fall line that's
Okay.
coming out any day. We're doing some final touches, couple of new designs, couple new hats, way different than anything we've done in the past. We did some funky stuff over the summer. It was just fun, bright colors. This one's a little bit different. And then we have our winter line that's going to gear more towards life on the mountain, snowboarding, skiing. So we're an action apparel company. We don't want to just be surfing and boating. We want it to be, all types of action apparel. And so yeah, we got a couple of good ones coming out soon. And you asked earlier on how this all started, things like that with Anchor East. And I can honestly tell you the reason it did start was, or at least part of the reason it started, my brother and I had a conversation about what's our legacy going to be, and we want this to be that, we want this to be something one day like our kids are doing, where they keep up with the beach cleanups, things like that we really want our families to be involved in, and that we want our kids to one day be the ones doing this. And that to me was more important than anything else. Before we do end it, I do want to say that you're going to be a part of it. So, October 16th, we're going to be at Heritage Park. We got the Walk for Diabetes. We are donating 100% of the proceeds from the raffle to JDRF, who we've reached out to, and they've granted us permission to use their logo on our website. And I don't know if anybody else in Long Island has that permission. So that was pretty cool that they allowed us to do that. And so we got the walk coming up on the 16th. We're going to be at the Italian Festival, September 26th. We'll have a booth there where we got a ton of merchandise that we're going to be selling at that festival. And then on the 16th, we're excited to see everybody for the raffle and stuff like that. But we also have a booth set up there where we're going to be selling merchandise there too.
You got a lot going on, my man. And I look forward to participating in Heritage Park.
Yeah, that's going to be good.
Fun. Yeah.
I think we got over 20 businesses involved.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Awesome, dude. Thanks for coming on. You're doing a lot. I love having these conversations, even with people that I know for a long time, because you're forced to have a conversation that you've never really probably had a conversation with that person about.
No.
I didn't know you were so big into anchors, and it's crazy that I've known you for 20 years, and that's the first time I've heard of this.
You bit me at Phillies once, and we've never had a conversation about it.
You'd think if you're in a fighting relationship, you'd know their deepest secrets. All right, dude. Well, I know you're busy. Hope you have a really good weekend. Thanks for coming on. I look forward to participating in everything you're doing with Heritage Park. I will be buying more clothes from you guys because they're awesome designs, and I love what you guys are doing. You have a good cause with the beach cleanups, with juvenile diabetes, and so keep doing what you're doing, my man. You're doing an awesome job, you and Pat. So thanks for coming on. Have a good weekend. Have a good rest of your night.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
All right.